Hi there, I'm Jack Newberry. I'm a New Zealand-trained medical doctor. I work at Sensyne Health as a software engineer, and I have the pleasure of demonstrating the SENSIGHT platform to you today. For the demo, I want you to imagine that we are researchers at a biotechnology or a pharma company. We have developed a new medication, and we are planning a phase 3 clinical trial. SENSIGHT is a web-based platform. The first thing we need to do is define a cohort of people who have the diseases that we are interested in. The first step to define a cohort is to choose a dataset. These are the datasets available to my user. These have been distilled from about 4 million unique patient records. Sensyne has 22 million records under contract, and we're working on bringing the rest of these onto the platform across the next few months. You can see that the datasets span the range from very rare diseases through to extremely common. For the demo, we're researchers who are interested in multiple myeloma. We're going to investigate the feasibility of creating a synthetic control arm for the trial that we're planning. A synthetic control arm is a simulated placebo arm of a clinical trial. In a traditional trial, we would recruit patients and randomize them. Some would receive the real medication, but some would not. They'd get a placebo or standard care instead. The benefits of a synthetic control arm are that it's more ethical, because all patients can receive the real treatment, and it's cost-effective, because we can avoid following up patients who have not had our treatment. Today, that's 2021, is a fantastic time to be doing synthetic control arms. These are a new style of clinical research which has been enabled by datasets like the ones available through SENSIGHT. Synthetic control arms have recently begun to be accepted by regulators like the MHRA and the FDA as providing high-quality evidence. The FDA has now approved several therapies based on synthetic control arms, and they've even issued guidance supporting their use, especially in oncology and rare diseases. Synthetic control arms mean that we can reduce the burden on vulnerable patient groups because everyone can receive the potentially life-saving treatment. We want to select multiple myeloma as the index event for our trial. This is functionality specific to medical research. Selecting the index event means that for each patient, the date of their myeloma diagnosis will be used as the basis for further analysis. Now I'm adding filters to closely match the inclusion or exclusion criteria of our clinical trial protocol. As researchers, this number up here in the corner is especially important. This shows the number of patients who we've identified who meet the criteria that we've entered. Clinical trials often have long lists of exclusion criteria. It's common, for example, to only allow adults into the trial. We want to exclude people who are likely to be on medications that interact with our medication. We might not want people in the trial who have a very high cardiovascular risk, like people who have had a previous heart attack. And this is a good example of where SENSIGHT can bring value as a prospective planning tool. We might find that one criterion is responsible for excluding a large number of patients from the trial. If we discover this during trial planning, we can consider modifying our protocol so that we're able to enroll more patients, give them the potentially life-saving therapy, and improve the statistical power of our study. With SENSIGHT, we also have the freedom to use other kinds of characteristics to further tailor our cohort. We might require patients who are not anemic, and patients with good kidney function. You can't do this kind of fine-grained filtering on other platforms that only contain claims data. We can enter a composite outcome, but we're researching cancer, so we're most interested in whether our medication prolongs survival. The platform has generated these aggregate statistics in real time. SENSIGHT allows us to do this in minutes, where previously it might have taken months. These allow us to do things like understand the size of our therapeutic area, generate new hypotheses based on the distribution of these characteristics, and if we're really lucky, we might discover previously unknown insights about our disease of interest. Finally, we're going to have a look at the Kaplan-Meier estimator, also known as a survival curve. This chart shows the rate of death over time, so each step represents one patient death in the synthetic control group that we've just selected. The chart shows how long after their initial myeloma diagnosis they died. Once we've completed our trial, then we'll match the performance of the patients we've treated against the control group. Hopefully our medication will allow people to live longer, and we'll see that in a higher, flatter curve. Accurately generating these curves for the control arm is a key feature of the SENSIGHT platform. Many clinical trials fail because the control arm actually performs better than the treatment arm. Traditionally, control performance was estimated based on historical research, but This is a very slow process and it's inaccurate. The process is to do a literature review, trying to find studies with similar criteria to the trial that we are planning. It can take months to do this kind of review, and it's inaccurate because the standard of care has changed since the trials we're looking at, often in the 80s or thousands, compared to our trial. And it's inaccurate because those historical trials don't precisely match our trial. They may have different inclusion and exclusion criteria in different groups of patients. The SENSIGHT platform avoids these problems with our longitudinal data and precise filtering based on a trial protocol. SENSIGHT can help to reduce the time required to assess synthetic control arm feasibility from months down to minutes. Thank you.